G'day, mate, and welcome to Friday Facts number 370, the journey to Nintendo Switch. And of course, I've got the wonderful Mojo with me. How you doing, mate?
Oh, hello. I've been better. Feeling better, though.
I'm feeling better?
All week.
Oh, well, no. I was going to go with you feeling better because you get to finally play Factorio on a Switch, right?
Sure.
Or it's because at the bottom of this, when we get down there, there'll be details about the not DLC expansion that's coming soon, right?
The soon TM expansion, yes. That's the part that we actually care about.
Yeah. We'll start this off. We'll work our way down, okay? Like, things are posted in order. It's suspense. You've got to hang around for the end of the video. Okay, yes. So Friday Facts number 370. Switch. Okay. By Twinson and Coverx. So Twinson's been working hard on, getting Factorio to work on a Switch. They did include an April Fool's joke some time ago, and I want to say there's been more than one about getting it to run on a mobile. I want to say there's more than one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's been several.
Well, this was done by Thomas, which I had to go look up, and Thomas is not Thomas Seating. No, that's Robert. There's another Thomas in here somewhere.
The other one.
Yeah, the other Thomas. This is Thomas, who's now the managing director, who doesn't do a lot of coding anymore, but he's been there forever. Same as Coverx.
He's one of the original crew.
Yes. So they did an April Fool's joke about getting it ported across to mobile, which would have been great. Apart from, you'd sit down and wait for a bus, and then suddenly it'd be dark, and the buses would have stopped for the night, and you'd still be playing Factorio, and suddenly realize you're cold. You're cold. It's been raining. You haven't realized you're tired. Your mobile phone's flat, and you've got no way getting home. But good news is you're here at work, ready bright and early the next morning. Okay. So Switch, during Nintendo Switch with Twinson, he's a big fan of the Switch system. He's special with detachable Joy-Con controllers, which you can hold one in each hand. Porting Factorio to Switch was something I had in mind for a very long time. Around Feb 21, so a very long time ago, we were discussing the idea of discussing the future of the team and what we should work on next. I decided I want to try and port Factorio to the Switch. After some initial research, it didn't look like it would take too long. Feb 21. What month are we in now? 22?
September.
Yeah, September.
I nearly said October then, and I was like, hang on, no.
Yeah. So it shouldn't take too long. Exactly. Okay. Before I continue the story, I'd like to mention the project as a whole had a lot of unknowns. Is it technically possible to port without a major rewrite of the graphics backend? Very important. Can Nintendo Switch even run the game at an acceptable performance level? Very, very important. Is it possible to play the game using controllers? Everything is possible with the controllers. Whether it's comfortable and nice to do is a whole different question. Is the project not too big? Yeah, well, you're a one-man dev team. Because he decided to do this by himself. So possibly.
The third point, is it possible to play using game controllers? It just gave me flashbacks of all those 90s games that were rammed onto controllers.
Oh, look. The ones that get me, the ones that get exclusive access on a console, and then they finally bring out the PC version sometimes later. And when you go into the controller options to change the keyboard controls or something, it shows you a picture of a freaking Xbox controller. And you're like,
yes.
I quit. I'm done. I'm just done with the game. Nope. I'm just quit. Yep.
Well, at least there's you can plug an Xbox controller into a PC. If it was a PlayStation controller, I'd be throwing the keyboard at the monitor.
Oh, look, I've had pictures of Xbox controllers and PlayStation controllers and everything else, but I don't own any controllers. I haven't owned a console for years. I play on a PC for a reason, PC Master Race. Everybody here can agree, right? Yeah. Yes. We've had some history of Factorio-related sub-projects in development hell for years. So my goal was project always try and fail fast, whilst doing my best to make sure the parts were not just quick and dirty prototypes. If the answer to the question such as the wild buzz was clear no, the project would be cancelled, and there were a few close calls. So we applied for developer access and got it quickly. That's always a good sign. The first problem was up ahead. Can we make Factorio compile for the Switch? Especially since we use a custom fast build script to build Factorio in all the libraries. Luckily, the Nintendo Switch documentation is very detailed. So they managed to get it running in March 21. So we started in Feb. So a month later, They got to compile,
So,
and
just managed to convert it to something that compiles for the Switch.
they got an executable you could look at. And then but the very next day actually, build the full game package and run it on the dev kit. It would crash immediately, but it ran. It ran.
Yeah, it ran.
Yep.
It didn't run for very long, but it ran.
Yep. A lot of fixes, technical problems such as handling Windows initialization, audio, file systems, blah blah blah, network stack. You never know when the problems may end. You just fix the obvious ones and move on to the next, then run the game again, repeat, without really knowing where the next crash or error would be. And then by the end of the month, the log file read Factorio 12.12.94.0 Factorio initialized. Factorio successfully booted to the main menu. And we've got a pretty little picture here. You know, it's always good to get the mobile phone out and aim it at the screen and take your screenshots that way. You've been on Facebook, right? And that's how all the screenshots are done? Yep.
That's how you do it on Facebook land.
Yep. Great feeling, especially since everything seemed to work all of a sudden. The background simulation was rendered correctly. Sound and music would play. Even interacting with the GUI. User touch screen worked. All the fixed implementations were now finally visible. Performance. Sharp eye might notice the blah 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 12.12.9.40 is the timestamp in seconds. The game took 20 minutes to load and reach the main menu.
It's quite a load time.
It was a debug build, so the number was not that large, but the startup time was something we're dealing with even until the final days before release. Now the final startup time when the game is installed on internal storage is 70 seconds. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Still 70 seconds to open a game.
That's like 8-bit era kind of like loading from tape kind of time.
Yeah. And that's providing it's on internal storage. If it's on like the chip things that come with this, okay. Yep. Next step was doing obvious performance optimizations and deciding if performance was good enough. There were many optimizations to do. Tasks was made easier thanks to the development tools. Allowed us to make many Nintendo Switch optimizations and even some optimizations for the PC version, which brings us to version 1.157, where they said they improved the overall performance by 5 to 10% when fully zoomed out. Which
And
most
that
people
explains that.
just wrote off as that's nice, who cares? Switch users do, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, so answer is performance is good enough. It's not an easy question because what's good enough? I settled for the average player should be able to finish the game by launching a rocket, and the game should maintain 60 UPS. Luckily, performance met the target, even if it was quite close. I imagine it was. The Switch is not super powerful.
It's isn't it like 4 years old hardware now?
Yeah, and I asked in the last video, last Friday Facts, the last non-Friday Facts, what was it? Twinson Tuesday, Twinson
the Tuesday
Teas.
Twinson Teas, yeah.
Yes. I asked and people answered it's a an NVIDIA ARM processor. So it's completely different architecture as well, which means nothing ports across nice and simply. Yes. But they got their I've now been told it's a 2015 processor.
2015.
Yep.
Yeah, even older. And it's only a bit over a gigahertz, I believe, too. It's it's quite underpowered by today's stats.
You just got a water cooler. If you water cooler, it'll go faster, right?
Yes.
But with that out of the way,
Plays
next.
Doom.
So does the fridge. So does the fridge. Okay.
The ATM.
With that out of the way, next step was multiplayer determinism. Yes. They didn't want to cut multiplayer from the game. Furthermore, I wanted players on PC to play with players on the Switch. First time we had to make sure that the game is deterministic.
Deterministic?
Yeah, that one. Between ARM and x86. x86, for those who don't know and not technical, is what every computer runs on. We should be fine. C++ is portable, right? We just don't use undefined behavior. Turns out we use quite a lot of undefined behavior, both in our main
Which
code.
is literally most of C++.
Yep, and its libraries. For example, when casting a double to an integer, the value does not fit in the integer, it is considered undefined behavior, and the result is different on ARM and x68 CPUs. So, like, everything is broken. Yep, cool. All right. So removing all use of undefined behavior is probably a fool's errand, as it requires significant changes throughout the code and would take some time to come with a performance impact, all for no immediate practical benefit. So I hunted down the undefined behavior cases that actually broke determinism, and this was easy enough. Plenty of tools to test by comparing the game state CRC for every tick over every test. We have 2,417 tests.
That's a lot of tests.
Yeah, but it means they've encountered a lot. It's one of the things Woob has done really well. They've encountered enough errors that they've written a test to make sure that they never encounter the error again. That no bug slips back into the code with a change. Because it's something like I've been playing Captive Industry. The devs have been hard at work. They've been updating things. Their experimentals are very stable, but there has been bugs that have been introduced as they've been adding and fixing other bugs and adding quality of life stuff and all that sort of stuff. And by having 2,000... Yeah, well, by having 2,417 tests, the chance of you introducing a bug is pretty slim. And if it is...
I'm pretty sure there's actually an FFF talking about those tests too.
There is.
I think of when it was.
We're up to 370, so I'm going to go with...
Split the difference.
About
probably been
320-ish, 330-ish, somewhere in that era. Yeah. It also covers how they deploy, and they've got a server that runs like 9 instances of Factorio at the same time that does all the tests before it auto packages the game up and ships it off to Steam. Yeah. And to their website and to everywhere else. Yeah. But yeah, it also means with 2,417 tests, if they introduce a bug, it's a new bug. That's the important thing. But yes, even after fixing all the issues found, there still might be some multiplayer desyncs, but players should help us find any remaining desyncs. So as always, good luck players, test away. Controllers. Yeah, Factorio has developed for 10 years with only keyboard and mouse in mind. We also have 146 controls, mappable actions, where a controller typically has 16 buttons and 2 joysticks. Yep. So he needs to create a control scheme that has all the important actions, is intuitive for new players and existing players, respects known standards, make sure the most common tasks are fast. I need to accomplish these whilst not designing the GUI from scratch, not rewriting huge parts of the system. This is all this enough to give you brain damage. Nonetheless, I had an idea how to do it, since I spent some time planning for this before starting the project, to make sure it's even reasonably possible. The GUI, one of the challenges was how to navigate the GUI. Something was clearly out of the question was dumbing down the GUI. Something was clearly out of the question was dumbing down the GUI on all platforms for the sake of controllers, like many games do. Yes. I have a feeling.
Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, there's a certain game that I really enjoyed. I believe it was called Astroneer, that keeps porting to new systems.
Yes.
And when they do, it seems features disappear because it's just not supported in the new whatever it's being ported to. Yeah.
Hold
yes.
this button to do this thing.
Okay. So we have hundreds of GUI that took years to develop and implement, and some are still being changed. Redesigning and changing most of them again would also take years. So the remaining solution was to use most of the same layouts to navigate through widgets using controller stick. Seems simple, but on the hood there's a pretty complex heuristic algorithm. For example, we're pressing left on the stick. The algorithm will look through all interface widgets on the left and pick the best one based on factors such as current widget and candidate widget bounding box's position, what parent type is part of what is the bounding box of the parent. Oh god, yeah, no, pass.
That's
video. There's video.
This is melting your brain.
Yeah,
it's melting your brain even reading it.
Yep.
It seems it's a very Very convoluted solution, comprehensive, complex solution.
Yeah, so they've got the GUI and they've got the video, and like the video, it makes it look pretty easy to navigate. One thing I do notice is the crafting queue is now part of the character selection inventory thingamajiggy bob, which I guess on very limited screen space probably makes sense. Also notice there's no toolbar. That's a thing.
Yes, because there's no key buttons, so there's no point having it.
Yeah, but that's your
the next
quick
video
access.
shows that.
Yeah, I know,
Yes.
I know. So yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I guess it sort of works. I don't know. Like I said, one of my kids plays the Switch. I'm gonna end up playing this on the Switch eventually. So yes, updated quick UI. Add a new UI called Quick Panel. It's a radio menu that open whilst holding the left bumper. Allows for quick access to tools and panels. Which technically Switch users are going to get ripped off because they only have 8 to choose from.
8 out of 10 and only one row.
Well, Factorio players have potentially 40. You know, those who play on the real master race, the real computers. Yes. I just had a horrible idea, or a horrible question. Does that mean somebody's going to start a speedrun category for Factorio on a console?
Can probably guarantee it.
Because technically it's a different version.
Yes. And actually, if you want to get your name on the board, the old Clowntown trick, that'd be the way to do it.
Yeah. So, finishing up near the end of August 21. So, like a year ago. The game was fully playable on the Switch. I worked remotely, and at that time we had a meetup, so I took the opportunity to force the other team members to play through the game whilst I watched them and see how intuitive for those who play with the controller for the first time. The feedback was mostly positive, and I also had an idea of what parts should be improved. With that last major part of the port was done, just polish it and ship it. The game should be ready to launch by the end of the year 21, but we are releasing on the 28th of October 22. So what happened in the meantime? As expected, things took longer than expected. The 99 rule or similar roughly holds true. The 99 rule being you fix one bug and 99 are introduced, right?
Yes. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Also, remember, I wanted to fail fast, so I want a playable vertical slice as soon as possible. Now it's time to go back and make sure everything was done properly, plus there's still many small things to figure out. More playtesting, polishing with the controller, tweaking the algorithm that navigates the GUI so it's intuitive and works for all of our hundreds of GUIs. Making sure all our custom GUI widgets can be interacted with the controller. This includes switches, sliders, train minimap, equipment grid, etc. More optimizations for UPS and FPS and loading times. Experimenting with adding vibrations. The Joy-Con controllers, Nintendo, blah blah, Pro Controller, support HD rumble. Ooh, high definition rumble. After some testing and some
experiment, get some rumble when you get attacked by biters too.
Well, that's my comment, but also, what happens when you get hit by a train? Because that is super important.
That is a very good question.
Like,
that's what the HD rumble's for.
It's the whole thing just shakes to death as you sit there for the next 10 seconds regretting everything you just did. Remember, trains are big, trains are fast, and you are not, and you are squishy.
Gotta feel the pain.
It's just embarrassing enough. So yeah, it's decided worth trying to use this functionality and add many custom vibrations to enhance the experience. Oh, artillery. I just thought about artillery. And nukes. Updating the tutorial campaign, mini tutorials, tips and tricks, localizations, age ratings, which is something I hadn't thought about. But yes, Switch.
Yeah, very important on the Switch.
Yeah, Switch. Every single game has some sort of age rating based, age rating on the front cover. So, what's Factorio Score? Like a G?
I imagine so.
PG maybe. Blighter Blood's purple, so probably 50-50. Whatever Minecraft scored.
Probably slide into PG.
Whatever, see. Yeah, but Australian versus the US.
That's true, yeah.
So I think it probably scored a G. Over here it might score a PG. Yeah, it depends country. I'm willing to bet whatever Minecraft scores the same. Bugs. Oh, I love this. There's a lovely picture of bugs. Dead bugs. At least the biters died, but all the graphics are broken entirely. Yes. Not all of them actually. The labs work fine, but everything else is broken. Yeah, bugs. Okay.
Unplanned features.
Implementing, making sure Nintendo's requirements are met. Releasing game on a game console means it needs to comply with many requirements, and even go through a review process. This is how reviewers get free copies of games. They say we need to look at it first. Yep. Even after launch, there's much to do. Next to my screen, there's a stack of post notes with future improvements, possible features, technical debt I need to solve, as mentioned in the announcement last week. After launch, also work on controller support for PC and Steam Deck. It's mostly my pet project. I was the only one working on it full time. I tried to let the rest of the team focus on the expansion and not get in the way. But others helped me with a few things such as graphical optimizations, audio optimizations, web backend testing, play testing, feedback, and other small tasks. So with everything, it's team effort. Also, many contacts at Nintendo offered support with the launch and development. It was an honor to be featured in an event as big as Nintendo Direct. Yeah, I'm wondering how many Nintendo staff play Factorio.
I imagine there's at least one.
Oh, I imagine there's a lot more than one. A lot more than one. So yes. So that comes down to the very important part. That's nice, but what about the expansion by Coverx?
Yes, yeah. Let us know.
It would not be fair not to address the elephant in the room. Yes. The DLC elephant. Where you can get armor for the elephant, right?
Yeah. Just download it.
Yeah, okay.
Just gotta download it.
Which is the progress on the expansion. We've been working harder and have a lot of progress, but still haven't shared any specifics for the strategic reasons mentioned previously. In Friday Facts 367, which I have up here, they mentioned they're in step number 4, which is connecting the systems into a prototype. So this is when they start stitching everything together. And so when was this? This was in Feb this year.
Oh, February. I was about to say not last year, but no, it wasn't that long.
No, it was Feb. It was Feb. It was a good, 7 months ago.
I was going to say it's like 6 months ago, but yeah, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
It's actually a while ago.
This is the stage they're in, okay? The sort of things that somewhat work together. Okay. Where were we? We can now say we're in somewhere deep in step 5. So step 5 is first pass of tweaking. Parts should feel much better. The concept is more stable. Chance of removing things is lower. This way you can actually have a semi-final list of requirements. The graphics department, which allows us to start making reasonable time estimates. At this point, we also do more playtesting. We can start to polish the roughest edges. The polish is mainly focused on basic balancing, biggest UX issues, broad pacing improvements, etc. And don't care about anything else in stage 5. In first, I had a playthrough from start to finish where we had to assemble and fix systems on the go. It was very rough and long, partially because I had to repeatedly update the factory as we implemented changes. Yes, that sounds like half a dozen mods that exist for Factorio. Currently playing C-Block. That's exactly what you have to do. You have to keep rebuilding things as you do more research. But first result was the game being playable from start to end. Having a skeleton in the playthrough was critical for managing the team, as people could effectively split their effort in more independent sections of the game. Second playthrough was a week-long office LAN party in July 22, so a couple of months ago. 12 people spent 5 full days racing to finish the game before the end of the week. Mojo, how long does it take you to play Factorio start to end?
I can usually do it in like 2 sittings if I broke it up into like 3 hours, 4 hours each, depending on how fast I want to go.
So like 8 hours. 8 hours.
So yeah, I could beat it in 8 to 10 hours comfortably.
Okay. Have you played like one of the big mods like space exploration?
I have played Factorio 2.
Okay. And do you know roughly how long it took you to play that? Start to end.
First time through start to end was like 36 hours or something.
Okay. Which is like a full week doing everything yourself, not having 11 extra people to help you along.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then still taking 5 days.
Yes. 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 Some of us took family vacations because of this, so we tried to get the most out of it. As you can imagine how intense it was, how destroyed we were at the end, but it was a great experience. And playing one playthrough in one continuous session gave us an accurate feeling of the overall pacing. The key takeaway is that the game was too long and some parts were too boring and repetitive. If it took you 5 full days with 12 of you, I can definitely agree to that.
It's almost like a parallel to space exploration or
well, look, space exploration
escapes me right now.
Has things to do. Has
that
things
is true.
to do.
It has lots of little odd jobs to do, lots of little bits of busy work. It's not like I can't even think of it now. The one that's just a real ball ache. It's like
that doesn't help.
40 hours just to get like automating green circuits.
Oh, that would be Pyanodons.
Pyanodons, that's it.
Yes. Yeah, there's a couple of mods like that are just unbelievably slow for the fun of being unbelievably slow. Pass. But like space exploration is good. Is good. The biggest issue it has is it's maybe too big because I've never seen it run at anywhere near 60 by the time you get to endgame. So, I finished it in 300 hours or something, multiplayer server, which was slowed down because it was multiplayer, long story. And at the end of it, we were playing the game at half speed. So that sort of adds a few hours worth of physical us in chair time, but not a lot of actual play time because, it's running so incredibly slow. Also, there was lots of AFKing to keep the factory running to get things happening because building bigger was not an option because we were already running half speed. So, yeah, I'm wondering whether there's too much of them fixing bugs along the way, which is possible, or possible. Too much wasted time. As I said, the game was too long. Some parts were too boring or repetitive. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Well, there's also a chance they're adding a shit ton of content, which I'm very excited that hopefully that's the correct answer.
Hopefully that is what they're doing.
No, let's take it.
But hopefully they do make it a lot less boring.
Well, we're up to 2 years worth of development time so far. So, and Factorio itself took 9 years, but it started off with 2 devs and they ended up with a full team by the end. This started with a full team. So, it should take less time, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And they know what they're doing now too.
Yeah.
Well, they've built systems over and over.
Yeah, they've also built most of the engine from the ground up, so they know how all the bits work, apart from fluids. Nobody knows how fluids work.
No, or the blueprint library.
No, they know how that works. They built that from the ground up too.
Yeah,
so they know how that works.
I suppose they know how it works in the same way they know how fluids work. So it's a thing that exists.
Yeah. Since we mainly focused on fixing the problems identified, also a lot of things we use the playthrough technically work, but look and feel is very simplified as a prototype. Imagine instead of prototype, which moves things from A to B, but is a grey square and doesn't swing its arm. This is the state of a lot of the things at the moment. That's perfectly fine. If you look at Factorio, anything below, I believe, version 9, there are lots of things that look like that. The reason why we don't share specific details is that we have to sadly inform you that it still won't be ready sooner than a year from now. Once the estimates get reasonably close, we'll start dropping some Friday facts. As always, you can let us know what you think in the usual places. Please go to the forums and say sooner, faster, now.
More faster.
Hurry up. Yeah, hurry
faster.
up. Yeah, another year. What do you think, Mojo? Another year.
Oh, another year. I guess they're not going for the trickle feed early access route this time.
Well, I don't know. They do mention back in 367. They do mention.
Yes.
We're in step 5 now, so first pass of tweaking. Step 6 is a beta test. All right. So this is when modders start getting access, blah, 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 blah. All right. Community translators can start translating some of the game. I could definitely see them doing a beta test.
Yeah, maybe we might be some of us might get to see the beta.
Yep. Whether they put NDAs on it like some other devs do and say, look, you can't show, you can't release, you can't do anything, or whether they let it go because every dev is different. Some have no issue with you showing, like I've had devs give me the okay to super early pre-alpha video, gameplay, go nuts, we're happy for you to show and gauge people's interest and that sort of stuff. Others like, nope, you can't show anything till we get to the final release, which is step 7, the actual release. So I don't know.
Step 7, they want to do direct to stable, no experimental phase.
Yeah, they did say that.
Which was a bit that I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
So they're going to go direct.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like waiting for the release, but then waiting the extra with the delays, and then the extra time waiting for it to hit stable, which means that the common plebs get it.
Yeah, I don't know, because from memory, like when they went stable, they didn't do massive sales. When 1.0 finally came out, they finally came out of early access. They didn't see massive spikes in sales. And I know this is
arguably
written.
It already reached saturation point.
Yeah. I know, and this is the other thing. Like this Friday Facts 370 was 367 was written after 1.0 came out, and even 1.1 came out. So they have that experience now. I still think they should go into some sort of early access, release of the expansion, and that way you can, pay for the game, have the bugs, have that sort of stuff, because we all know Woob, it's got no bugs in it, and they could do a public beta for everybody who wants to buy it right now can, and it's still in early access beta and will be for a month, because we've got to 99.5% stable as they're doing with the Switch right now, and then the community can help us fix out the last bugs. Yeah. But either way, it's going to be another year, which means Factorio is stuck with whatever modders can come up with for the next 12 months. So pick your favorite mods, play them through start to end, and it looks like I have at least another year worth of C-Block to finish out, because that's what I'm doing on Twitch currently.
I was going to say, yes. You got a year to finish playing C-Block.
Yeah. I'm playing it wrongly because I'm doing it with a boss, but that's entirely besides the point. You should come over to Twitch and check it out, because I stream at Twitch, Mojo streams at Twitch, links are always down in the description. And with all that said, we need to call this video here because it's been far too long about the journey for Factorio to get to a Switch, right?
Yes, that and information about the expansion.
Yeah, non-information about the expansion. Yes. All right.
We learned nothing new.
Yeah, we
learned that there's going to be another year.
We learned not to expect anything for 12 months. All right, that's it. We're out. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
All right, see ya.